Hey everyone, I'm Mr. Guy, and let me tell you, I was a huge fan of Fancy Pants as a little kid. Whenever I was in the mood to be slacking off in class, it was always my first choice. Or it would be if my school didn't keep blocking every website that had games on. Darn you, public education trying to get us to learn. Now, if you don't know about this game, why did you click on this video? I guess I'll tell you anyway. It was a neat little series of Adobe Flash platformers by Brad Bourne that dominated game sites back in the day. Recent sequels have actually expanded into full games both on consoles and PC. But today, we're going to be looking at where it all started, World 1. If I had to describe this game in one word, it would be classic, both for better and for worse. There's a certain old Flash game charm to it, with the great music that isn't looped well at all, the sketch-like quality of the hand-drawn environments and characters, some really weird bugs and inconsistencies, and the whopping 3 levels with a boss at the end. It definitely came out in 2006. The controls in every game are really fluid, with speeding through levels being super satisfying, and it's no different here, but in this first installment, it's a bit rough. You can't slide on flat ground, which is one of my go-to ways of killing guys. The mid-air momentum you get from a wall jump makes me miss more platforms than I'd like, and it generally feels just a bit more loose in future titles. It's kinda expected though, and doesn't really take away from the experience. And I mean, hey, it is free. I can't complain too much. And now, complaining. All the levels have challenge rooms, but they aren't super hard or interesting, and all you get is rewards or statues of people I don't know. Lame. Although there is one pretty cool challenge room where it has springs that lock you in place until you jump off, so that's something, right? Yeah, let's move on. Starting with level 1. It's nothing too special really, just with a theme of, I drew it, but I think that was purposeful. It's a good place to get you comfortable with the controls, with few enemies, half loops to run through at the speed of sound, and lots of purple and blue hills.
Nice throw!
As the final obstacle, you have a mouse with a gun. What? Oh yeah, weirdly enough, you have to unlock the ability to wall jump. Jump into this box, collect a thing, and then escape the rising ink. What a weird game. Next is level 2, and it looks pretty much exactly the same, although the floating platforms have stalagmites below them. Is it stalagmites or stalactites? I can never remember. Anyway, it's quite a bit longer than level 1, with more interesting set pieces, if you can call them that, and it's just a little bit more challenging than level 1. Overall, though, it's not going to rock your world. I mean, geez, Brad Bourne, can't you come up with something original for once? Well, it seems that he listened to me, because level 3 actually looks somewhat different. It's a grassy level, with tree limbs growing out of the walls and servicing as platforms. These new terrifying bird things. I mean, geez, look at those teeth. Ugh. All coming to a close with a cave that has stalactites, not stalagmites, I checked, above the entrance to the lair of the boss. The fight is interesting. So, it starts by you jumping on a giant penguin while he's sleeping. Then he rams at you like a bull, even holding his fingers up like horns, and you do damage by jumping on him when he gets stuck in the wall. Honestly, after all the nonsensical crap I've seen, this is pretty fitting. It gets slightly harder each time by requiring you to jump later and later, but other than that, it's just a simple 1, 2, 3 and he's out of there. And by out of there, I mean you literally just murdered him. Look! He was just trying to sleep and now he's dead. Was it worth it? Fancy Pants? The music is a total jam! I know, sudden, but this applies to the entire series. I could listen to these tracks all day. But we don't have Brad to thank for this, no. Instead, the composer for World 1 is Geir Arnold. This guy is a legend. He did a lot of music for the series, and he gives us a great little taste of what's to come here. With only 4 main songs in this one, and literally the worst level select theme ever, like, jeez. It seems like they would get on your nerves pretty quickly, but the game is so short anyways that it doesn't really matter. Now let's look at Fancy Pants Remastered, released last year. This one, I don't know, it just doesn't jive with me as much as the original, for some reason. It's improved in every way, of course, and does retain that humor Brad Bourne is really good at implementing, but I guess I just prefer the feel and style of the original. Maybe that's down to nostalgia. Anyway, the old levels are basically unchanged from the first game. Of course, the new physics engine from Super Fancy Pants Adventures here, wouldn't be a remaster otherwise, but all in all, it's very much the same game. Although one huge change that makes this, without a doubt, a million times better than the original, is that if a bad guy is at low health, there are health bars now by the way, and you kick them into next frickin' week. It's like blam! Anyway, There are 5 pages hidden throughout the levels from Fancy Pants' sister, Kitty Pants. Not only are they fun to read, but when you find all of them, you get to play as her in her own campaign. She's slower, which makes some jumps harder, but she also has a cat grappling hook, which is amazing. Like, you already had me sold because of the grappling hook, and you had to go and make it a cat that uses its claws? Also, when you jump on an enemy, you stand on their head instead of killing them. There are details like this all over the game. If you crouch over and over, Fancy Pants will hold up the rock and roll sign, enemies smiling when you get hit by them, the clouds of dust behind you look like squiggles if you run fast enough, etc. The little things are a big reason why I really love this series. Anyway, while it does get pretty tedious to play through both sets of levels as her again, the challenges from level 2 onward are different to take advantage of the grappling hook, which is pretty cool. Also, for some reason the squiggles don't appear if you already collected them as Fancy Pants, she can't crouch, and she can't beat the boss at the end. I hope Brad fixes this stuff. Playing through the first set of levels as Fancy Pants unlocks FP1 Remix. Think Conquer Live and Reloaded with its changes, but times 10. The music is all new, and while less iconic than the original, I guess, I would argue is much better. There's a bunch of new challenges and hidden areas, and challenges in the hidden areas, and all kinds of hats scattered throughout the levels, a lot of which are being worn by the enemies, and pant colors and patterns you get from the challenges. Oh, it's great. Also, one of the challenges in this level is made up entirely of silhouettes, which is frickin' awesome. See, not all good games have silhouette levels, but all games with silhouette levels are good. Although one thing I noticed is that you can't go back to having no pattern on your pants after you unlock one. Kinda lame. And hey, remember when I did that bowling joke earlier? Well, the madman actually went and added a bowling ball to that part of the game. Beautiful. Anyway, moving on. What do you mean nobody liked level 3? I did. So, the level has been completely changed, just because Brad felt like it, I guess. A huge pencil erases and otherwise destroys parts of the level, and there's hills following into each other, and it's general mayhem. It's really awesome. And then, after that, there's an entirely original level thrown in there because, you know, why not at this point? It has Turquoise Hill, an absolutely bangin' music track, and some actually tricky jumps and challenges for once. Yeah, this game isn't very hard. After level 4, it ends with a brand new boss fight against the big pencil. You gotta knock enemies into it while it spins really fast across the arena. It's pretty cool. Also, a neat little detail is that every time you hit the pencil, you knock the lead off and it goes and sharpens itself. When you beat him, you unlock the pencil as a weapon, which is pretty rad, but there's really nothing to do with it since you just beat all the levels. Oh well. So, overall, while being rough around the edges and ridiculously short, it's still a pretty great game, especially for Flash standards. It's just so memorable in so many ways. And although I do think the remaster loses some of the charm of the original, it brings things to a modern standard and is way better for playability. I definitely recommend that version. You can get it on mobile or on your computer. I'll give you a link to it. But what if you just wanted to play the original? Just look it up online, right? Well, most browsers stopped supporting Flash around New Year's. Thankfully, someone came up with a solution. Sounds like a sponsored segment. The program is called Blue Maxima's Flashpoint. Basically, it has this huge database of Flash games, and when you select one, it downloads the game and opens up a Flash player on your computer completely offline. It's pretty cool. I'll put a link in the description to that as well. Now I'm going to call Brad Bourne and try to get some compensation for basically being his marketing manager.
Hello, you've reached the voicemail box of Brad Bourne.
What? Hey everyone, thanks for watching my first video in 2 months. It wasn't even 10 minutes long. Seriously though, hope you enjoyed. I thought about making an update video, but you know what they say, content speaks louder than words. Anyway, my next review will be on Fancy Pants 2, so stick around for that. And hopefully it doesn't take 2 months this time. I'll see you then.